What up, Epic Readers? I'm Jesse from the YouTube channel Jesse the Reader, and today I'm bringing you another episode of Epic Quiz, the series here on Epic Reads where we take bookish quizzes and share in on all the bookish greatness, bookish goodness, bookishness. What? Just go with it. Today we are taking two quizzes. The first one is, what is your book nerd DNA? Very curious to find out what my book nerd DNA is. And the second quiz is to vote yes, no, or maybe so on these bookish questions. I feel like that one is going to be the most difficult. We've gone ahead and listed the quizzes down below in the description, so be sure to play along with us and let us know your results down below in the comments. Let's get started. First up, what's your book nerd DNA? Which of these best describes your bookshelves? Filled to the brim, delightfully curated, gorgeous, or dusty? Let me just do a little dust check. We're good. They are pretty filled to the brim currently. I would also say that they're delightfully curated, and they're also gorgeous. 3 out of the 4 options apply to my bookshelves. I think I'm gonna go with filled to the brim though, because I feel like one, when it comes to the curation, there are books on here that I don't love that I need to get rid of. A book on haul is coming in the near future. And while I do think that my bookshelves are gorgeous, I think that they're a little bit disheveled currently, and I need to work on that. Next up, where do you get your book recs? My friends, my local bookstore, Bookstagram. I already know exactly what I want 6 months in advance. I am not that prepared. I feel like, again, 3 out of the 4 options apply to me. I get book recommendations from my friends all the time. If they read a book that they love, they are shoving it in my direction, being like, read this, read this, read this. 9 out of 10 times, I give in and read the dang book. My local bookstore, I am all the time finding random books that I am interested in at my local bookstore. It's a problem, both for my TBR and my wallet. And Bookstagram. Oh, Bookstagram, how influential it is on my book buying. Bookstagram is a dangerous place. Definitely the cause of my TBR growing and growing and growing. I feel like lately the people in my life have definitely influenced my reading the most, so I'm gonna say my friends. Choose an aesthetic. We've got a gloomy dark forest. We've got like a pinky orange morphed together situation. We've got a picture that is giving me fall vibes, and we've got a rainbow. I love me a spooky eerie forest, so that's what I'm going with. Which do you come to first, the book or the movie? The book always, I can't lie, the movie. I find so much more enjoyment in reading the book before I see the movie, because there's something about just like sitting in a movie and making comparisons the whole time to the original text that is so fun for me. Yes, I recognize the fact that that is incredibly nerdy, but I feel like a lot of you guys will relate. Do you dog ear your pages? Listen, I don't think dog earing is that big of a deal. Nobody throw tomatoes at me, please. I get why people want to use bookmarks because you want to keep your books in pristine condition, but like, there's also something beautiful about a book that is damaged by a dog ear. So I'm clicking guilty. Ooh, what's your favorite cover trend? Books with crowns, girls in dresses, books with movie art, illustrated covers. I do love a crown, I do love a gown, I don't love movie art, and I love me some illustrated covers. I think I'm gonna have to go with illustrated covers, even though I feel like we're a little oversaturated with illustrated covers these days. That's what I'm clicking. Boom. Finally, we have to choose a genre. We've got fantasy, contemporary, sci-fi, historical fiction, romance, horror, dystopian, and thriller. Ooh, what have I been loving lately? I feel like I've been loving a lot of genres lately. I've been kind of genre hopping back and forth. I feel like the itch that I've been scratching the most lately is fantasy, so I'm gonna choose fantasy. Okay, it's about time to find out our book nerd DNA. What's it gonna be? I'm so intrigued. Interesting, it says I'm 75% binge reader, 25% spoiler queen. You binge read all your favorite books as soon as you get your hands on them, and sometimes you just can't help but leak a spoiler or two. It's not your fault, everyone else can't keep up. I feel like I'm pretty good at protecting spoilers. I don't like spoiling people. I don't like ruining people's experiences with books, but I personally don't mind getting spoiled. I'm not sure how accurate this one is for me, but let me know down below in the comments what your results were. I'm very curious now. The last quiz that we are taking is the vote yes, no, or maybe so on these bookish questions. Would you forgive a friend who spoiled a book's ending? Unpopular opinion, but spoilers just don't bother me as much as they used to. I definitely understand why people get upset. Like, it does ruin a bit of the book. Like, obviously it ruins a bit of shock factor, but I still think you can enjoy a book even if you've been spoiled for it. Like, you don't know the build up that got to that point, you don't know the aftermath, and I feel like if you're spoiled for one thing within a book, there's still so many other things that you can enjoy, you know? I just have such a different relationship with spoilers these days. And that's on character growth, my friends. 31% said yes, 20% said no, and 49% said maybe so. There's hope for some of you spoiler queens. Do you enjoy the friends to lovers trope? Do I enjoy it? More like, I love it. It's one of my favorite tropes. I just think that there is something so wholesome about this trope. Like, don't get it twisted, I love a good platonic relationship, but when it comes to friends to lovers, you just have so much history together. You already have a solid foundation for a relationship, and sometimes it makes sense for you to take it to that next level into romance territory. That's right, yes took the cake here. Yes has 59%, 13% of people said no, and 28% said maybe so. Do you read more than one book at a time? There's never a point in my life when I'm not reading more than one book. It's a problem, a literal problem. I just have no self-control. I want to read everything, all of the things. And I often just get ahead of myself, get a little too excited. I'll get in the middle of one book and start another book, and get in the middle of that book and start another book, and then I just create this really unhealthy cycle. So far, all of my answers have been yes. We got 52% that said yes, 28% said no, and 20% said maybe so. Have you ever pretended to read a book that you haven't? I really don't think that I have, unless we're talking about school. Then I maybe have, so I'm gonna say maybe so. 46% of you said yes. That's shocking. Not all of you out here pretending to have read a book. 41% of you said no, and only 13% said maybe so. Have you ever cried in public while reading? I don't cry that often while reading, and I feel like if I know a book is gonna make me emotional, then I make sure to read it in a place where people can't see me get emotional. You don't wanna see what I look like when I cry. The river of tears flow down my face, and the snot gushes. I feel sorry for anybody who has ever seen me cry. 41% of people said yes, 46% said no, and 13% said maybe so. Have you ever given up on a book you were not that into? Truth be told, I'm really bad at DNFing books, but there have been a time or two when I've just been like, I cannot do this. I am not enjoying this. It's giving me a headache reading this. I'm getting mad reading this, and that is always a sure sign that I should push the book aside and move on with my life. 85% of people said yes, 8% said no, and 7% said maybe so. Would you agree to never read your favorite book again if it meant getting a new sequel to your second favorite book? Ooh, see? I don't think so. And I say that because I feel like a lot of my favorite books have gotten sequels in the past and they just didn't live up to that first book. And I feel like in making this deal, you're setting yourself up to potentially have a sequel of a book that you love be really underwhelming. So if it was your second favorite book getting a sequel that was promised to be amazing, then I would say yes, but I'm gonna say no. 19% said yes, 52% said no, and 29% said maybe so. We have our last question. It says, have you ever liked a side character more than the main character? 100%. And I'm not gonna spill the tea here, but this has happened many times actually. And it just always makes me question why those characters weren't given the spotlight. Like these side characters that have main character energy, let them be the lead, because more times than not, those side characters are way more interesting than the main characters. I said what I said. 88% said yes, 3% said no, and 9% said maybe so. Those are all the bookish quizzes that we are taking today. You can find links to both of these quizzes down below in the description. Be sure to go and take them and then come back and tell us your results down below in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next month with another episode.